begins with an old man fixing his car's engine when out of nowhere, Mjolnir crashes down right next to his house. He walks over to see what just fell from the sky, and after taking a closer look, decides to call a specialist to investigate the situation. Before the specialist can arrive, many journalists and ordinary people have already gathered to see Thor's hammer that fell in the small town of Oklahoma. Shortly after, Tony Stark arrives, asking about the old man who had called him earlier. Adam, the old man, tries to explain to Tony that he was just fixing his pickup truck when the hammer fell, but Tony bluntly replies that he doesn't care. Tony then asks how Adam managed to call him on his private number. It's revealed that Thor had engraved Tony's number on the hammer, along with clear instructions for whoever found it to call Tony immediately. Tony gets furious and shouts, calling Thor a son of a bitch. Thor watches everything from a distance, smiling. Tony tries to send the journalists away, telling them to go home, but people keep shouting questions like,
"Is Thor dead? I lost my job at Roxxon because of that little bastard."
One old man even asks to try lifting the hammer. Tony responds by saying that no one can lift that hammer, not even him, which he finds ridiculous. Adam then calls Tony's attention, saying the hammer is changing. Tony walks over and sees that his number and address have disappeared, replaced by the words, "Pick it up." Tony creates an energy dome around himself and Adam. People outside start banging on the dome, trying to get in. Tony flies up and tells everyone to step back and calm down. Meanwhile, Adam ends up lifting the hammer, completely transforming. Once Adam is holding the hammer, people become even more excited, taking photos and recording videos. Adam apologizes to Tony and asks if he couldn't just create another dome. Instead, Tony releases a magnetic pulse that disables all cameras and cell phones. Tony tells Adam to follow him because they need to talk. He explains that none of this is Adam's fault, that he didn't ask for any of it, and that this isn't Adam's origin story. Tony then demands that Adam hand over the hammer. Adam hesitates for a second, and Tony asks him not to make things difficult. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning strikes, and Thor appears. Thor apologizes to Adam and says he owes him a favor. Adam says it's an honor to meet Thor face to face. Thor then demands his hammer back. Adam tries to return it, but Tony quickly grabs the hammer and says Thor won't get it back unless they have a little conversation first. Thor says this has nothing to do with Tony and demands his hammer again. Tony replies that it has everything to do with him since Thor left his phone number engraved on it. Thor counters by saying Tony was the one who wrote on his hammer first. Tony yells, asking if Thor threw the hammer to Earth just to see if anyone could lift it and whether the hammer is now broken. He even asks what would have happened if Dr. Doom had found it. Thor calmly says that would never have happened. Tony insists that until he gets some answers, the hammer stays with him. Overcome by anger, Tony goes too far and hits Thor in the face with the hammer. This enrages Thor, who humiliates Tony, saying,
"Tony, listen to me carefully. Do not confuse carrying my hammer with carrying my power. With or without Mjolnir, I am still a god. You are a man in a metal suit in the middle of a storm."
Tony snaps back to reality and hands the hammer to Thor. The two apologize to each other, and Tony suggests that Thor should rest and take a vacation. Thor replies that for a king, there are no vacations. Thor then asks Tony not to tell anyone that anyone can lift Mjolnir, or a war over the hammer might begin. Tony agrees and flies back home. Thor stays with Adam, who asks him for a favor, to be able to fly, since he always dreamed of flying like the birds he watched from his window. Thor accepts and teaches him how to fly, and how to land as well. Adam thanks Thor deeply, saying it may be a silly dream, but he always dreamed and prayed to fly like the birds. Thor replies that this is what prayers are for. Adam then asks how to turn back into himself. Thor tells him he just needs to strike the hammer against the ground with all his strength. Adam does so, returning the hammer to Thor and walks back home.